Hi everyone and welcome to the Euphoria YouTube channel. Today I will be working with Paper Mache Clay. In this video I will give you the recipe and I'll also give you 2 different ideas on how to use it. And as always, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. It really helps my small channel out a lot. Hope you're ready for this. Let's get started. I've never worked with paper mache clay before. This is a recipe that I found on a YouTube channel called Ultimate Paper Mache. It's run by a wonderful woman called Joni. I only modified the recipe a tiny little bit because I really like to recycle. That's why I'm using egg cartons for this instead of toilet paper as she recommends. I'll make sure to link her recipe as well in the description. So let's get started. Take your egg cartons out and start ripping them into tiny little pieces. Then add hot water until they're fully covered. And as you can see, apparently I have a hard time hitting the bowl here. Now let them soak for a couple of hours. Once you let them soak, you can either use a hand blender or a regular blender to mix it. Make sure to mix it for at least a couple of minutes so all of the paper fiber separates properly. Now it's time to press out the water. Not all of it, but almost all of it. I hope the video clarifies the instructions. For the measurements, I'm using a cup that I'm not afraid to damage. Now we're going to mix the paper mache clay together. And for this, we're using 1 cup and a quarter of the paper mass. Now we're using a PVA glue, and you will be needing 3/4 of a cup of this. Now we're adding joint compound, or as we call it in Swedish, wall filler. I'm using the one that is already pre-mixed, but you can also use dry joint compound if you want to and mix it yourself. You'll be needing 1 cup of this. Now start mixing the clay. Mix it for several minutes until it's smooth. Now I had to change for the kneading beaters. Start adding some flour into the clay and continue mixing it until you're happy with the results. You can continue adding flour until you get the texture that you want. This is a vase that I have at home, and before we add the clay to this one, we're going to make some adjustments to it. I'm going to give it a couple of handles, and for this I'm using an air dry clay. And as you can tell by the name of it, an air dry clay dries with only air, which makes it perfect for these smaller projects. When working with an air dry clay, it's important to work through the clay thoroughly before starting to shape it. Water is your best friend when shaping the air dry clay. The water keeps it from drying and it also smoothens out cracks. Once you're happy with the shape, leave them to dry. Mine took about 24 hours to get completely dry. So here we are, it's the next day and we're going to attach the handles to the vase. I'm attaching them simply by using a glue gun. Here's what it looks like now, and now we're going to cover it completely with the paper mache clay. You can store the paper mache clay in the refrigerator for up to a week. Just remember to cover it with a plastic bag. I'm applying the clay simply by using my hands, just because I think it's the easiest way. I'm sure you can use whatever tool you like to apply it. I'm using plastic gloves to avoid a mess. The look I'm going for with this vase is aged old pottery, so I want the paper mache clay to leave a lot of texture on it. I let this one sit for 2 whole days to get completely dry. Now it's completely dry and you can see that it has gotten some cracks, which I'm not very happy about. So before I'm sanding this one, I'm going to fill in the cracks with some more paper mache clay. And also I missed the insides a bit, so I'm adding some more there. This time it only took 1 day to dry completely. Here's what it looks like now, and I'm really happy with the texture, but I have to sand it a little bit because there are very sharp edges from the paper mache clay. But I want to keep as much texture as possible. I'm painting the vase in a very light beige shade. Now I'm going to spray paint the vase with a color that is supposed to resemble granite. Using this spray was such a success, it really gave it that old pottery look that I was aiming for. I finished the vase with 3 layers of a matte clear coat. Now it's time for the fun part. Here comes the reveal. Let's get started with the next project. This has been my favorite serving platter for a lot of years. Unfortunately, it broke a couple of weeks ago, but you know me, I decided to keep it because I thought to myself, maybe I can do something with this anyways. I really love the shape of it and I love that it's a very big serving platter. So I'm mending it with a glue gun and then I'm gonna cover it with paper mache clay. This will not only add texture but also strength to the serving platter so it doesn't break again. Like in the previous project, I'm applying the paper mache clay with my hands, of course covered with plastic gloves. And also remember to cover the surface you're working on. Sometimes I forget and it gets really messy. I don't really have a technique for applying the paper mache clay since I haven't worked with it before, but with this platter I want the look to be a little bit smoother than with the vase, so I'm trying to even it out as much as possible. I tried using a brush at one point to smoothen out the surface even more. It didn't work, so I don't recommend it. Time to let it dry. This also took a couple of days to get completely dry. This is what it looks like now. There's a couple of cracks in the clay that I'm not too happy about, but before I fill them in, I'm going to sand it down. As I told you before, I want this look to be a little bit smoother, so I'm gonna try to even some of the cracks out a little bit with sanding. wasn't able to remove all of the cracks with the sanding, so I'm gonna have to fill it in with some more paper mache clay. This only took a couple of hours to dry. Time for sanding again. And now we're gonna paint it. I'm using a shade that feels like a combination between brown, beige and gray. And I'm also using several layers of matte top coat to finish it off. I think you know what's coming now. It's time for the reveal. I'm really happy with how these two projects turned out, and I'm definitely going to use paper mache clay in the future as well. Please let me know in a comment below which one of these projects you like the most. Thank you for watching this video with Euphoria. If you think this video was inspirational, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. This will help me to be able to create more inspiring videos for you guys. Also make sure to check out my other videos for more DIYs, crafts and inspiration.